Congratulations to Justin Jefferson for getting the NFC Offensive Player of the Month for November. Well deserved. Just an excellent receiver. I mean, he's already the you're putting up against the rest of the league's wideouts. Justin Jefferson is top 3. And this is non-biased. He is top 3. Is he better than Devontae Adams? No, Devontae Adams, I believe, is not even arguably number 1. And I hate to say that because he plays with the Packers. So that's how you know, like, I'm trying to not be biased here. Justin Jefferson's top 3. Who else did he put up there? Maybe Debo, maybe Cooper Kupp. You can't even argue DeAndre Hopkins better than, well, actually you can. I mean, he's been injured. But again, you look at it. Justin Jefferson has outperformed Hopkins. He's outperformed Tyreek Hill. He's outperformed Stephon Diggs. Do I have to keep going on? There is nobody in the NFL who I would rather have more than Justin Jefferson right now. And this is why the Vikings have to revolve their offense around him. Congratulations, Justin Jefferson, Offensive Player of the Month, and congratulations to him. Like I said in the Thanksgiving episode where I was saying what I'm thankful for, I am very thankful that Justin Jefferson decided to complain about targets, that the Eagles decided to draft Jalen Reagor instead of Justin Jefferson, to have him fall into our hands at the 22nd overall pick, to get one of the league's best wideouts at the 22nd overall pick, getting NFC Offensive Player of the Month for November. That's the same month that Jalen Reagor dropped 2 game-winning touchdowns against, I think it was the New York Giants. I might have that wrong. I believe it was the Giants, though. But again, Justin Jefferson, love to have him in purple and gold. He's only 22 years old. In November alone, played 4 games, had 24 receptions, 464 receiving yards. That is incredible. 2 touchdowns and averaging 116 yards per game. Why should the Vikings revolve their offense around Justin Jefferson, you might ask? Although Dalvin Cook still might be the focal point of our offense. Now, of course, he is injured, but going forward, Dalvin Cook overall might be the best player on our offense. You take a look at it, though. The Minnesota Vikings are 4-0 when Justin Jefferson gets over 100 yards receiving. 4-0. And those are just against 4 bad teams. Those are against 4 good teams. Against the Packers, against the Chargers. Can't remember who the other 2 teams are. Maybe a couple more tough teams. I haven't looked into it, but they're 4-0 when they target Justin Jefferson and he gets over 100 yards receiving. Why should the Vikings target Justin Jefferson more? Why should we decide to revolve our offense around the pass? Because it works. This is what works with the Minnesota Vikings. What doesn't work is running the ball 3 times and punting it away. That's what doesn't work. Yes, I understand Dalvin Cook is great. He's injured now, so now Justin Jefferson has even more of a time to shine, especially going up against the Detroit Lions secondary and against, that's going to be tough, but going up against the Steelers secondary, which is great. Steelers defense as a whole is great. But again, the next 2 games, we know we're not going to have Dalvin Cook. The next 2 games, we're going to revolve around the pass. This is the way the Minnesota Vikings have to run. And I love that Justin Jefferson complained about targets because he should have. And it gave the Vikings offense a new identity. When Justin Jefferson complained about targets, I mean, we see this every year. When Jefferson complained about targets, it wasn't in a diva kind of way. It wasn't the Stephon Diggs, Percy Harvin situation. It felt different because he expressed how we all felt. With Stephon Diggs, you kind of rolled your eyes. With Percy Harvin, again, it was more of the same. Now, I understand there was Randy Moss before that, but I'm talking about my time. I remember this same thing happening with Stephon Diggs and the same thing happened with Percy Harvin. What did both those receivers have in common? They asked for trades and got traded to a team that respect them for who they are. We cannot make the same mistake with Justin Jefferson. There is no receiver I'd rather have in the NFL more than Justin Jefferson right now. He's on his rookie contract, 22 years old and putting up these numbers. I mean, he's incredible. And we have to make him the focal point of this Vikings offense. We have to put the ball into Kirk Cousins' hands and have him win us games. Because we can't win through the run anymore. We cannot win through the defense anymore. It hasn't worked this season. Mike Zimmer's defensive scheme has been terrible. Now, I understand it mainly has to do with injuries, but as a whole, Zimmer takes credit when this defense does great. He calls it his defensive scheme. He's not taking credit for this defense looking bad. No, he's not. Now, I understand we have a lot of injuries and a lot of players who keep getting COVID and all this is running through our locker room. As a whole, you look at this, Vikings look best when they pass. That's when the Vikings look best. It's not even just making Justin Jefferson the focal point of your offense. It's just making yourself a pass-heavy team. This is what the Vikings have to do more of going into the remainder 6 games that they have this season. Vikings have to revolve around the pass. You're paying Kirk $21 million a year. You have to put the ball into his hands to perform because Kirk is an accurate passer. Is he worth this much money? No. Well, $21 million is fine. Next year he's going to be making like 40-some million, that's not going to be worth it. But as a whole, you look at this, the Vikings receiving core is excellent. And I love to say this because I've seen so many Vikings receivers come through this team in my time. And Justin Jefferson, take away like our Hall of Famers, take away obviously Randy Moss, Chris Carter. Justin Jefferson might be up there with those names. And it's only his second year. I am so excited to see more of this player going forward. Through the next 2 weeks, we won't have Dalvin Cook. And the next 6 weeks, Dalvin Cook might miss the remainder of the season. He should be back for playoffs, assuming the Vikings make the playoffs. Now, they should. We're assuming that they will because this upcoming games we should win. We have 6 games. We should win at least 4 of them. That's what the Vikings should do. But as a whole, this receiving core, we have to revolve around the pass because this is what works. I don't care if you're playing the Lions. I don't care if you're playing the Steelers. Whoever we play going forward, you have to revolve around the pass because this is what works. We tried establishing the run early in just about all of our previous games. It didn't work. It failed. It failed. The Minnesota Vikings identity is completely different than it was in the past, where the Vikings win in 2 ways, defense and running the ball. This year is completely different. We have to revolve around the passes. We have a player like Justin Jefferson, an underrated receiver. Still Adam Thielen, an underrated receiver. KJ Osborne having a breakout season. Tyler Conklin having a breakout season. He's due for a new contract as well. D.D. Westbrook you just have out there too. We just forget about him. Oh, let's not forget about our IR players. Irv Smith Jr. and B.C. Johnson have not played this entire season and will be back the 2022 season. So Minnesota Vikings have to continue to revolve around the pass. B.C. Johnson, another underrated player. I mean, B.C. Johnson stepping in for Adam Thielen in 2019. Great job. I mean, I love the player. We also have Chad Beebe coming back, but I mean, it's Chad Beebe. He's a little overrated. All of his receiving yards came when he was wide open in 2020. I'm just going to put that there. I'm not a huge Chad Beebe fan. I don't think he'll be back. I don't think Vikings should give him another contract, but we do have players like B.C. Johnson, B.C. Johnson has 10-inch hands as a wide receiver, which is incredible. And then Irv Smith Jr., obviously, as well, also from New Orleans. Justin Jefferson and Irv Smith Jr., both New Orleans guys, could be back with this Minnesota Vikings in 2022. Just love to see the Vikings pass game finally look this good. As we don't just have a good offense, we have a Super Bowl offense. We do. We have a Super Bowl offense with a fully healthy Dalvin Cook and Jefferson, obviously, and Thielen as our receivers. We have a Super Bowl offense. Thank you, Jefferson, for complaining about targets and looking this good in November, because this is what we should have seen from him all season long. Thank you, Clint Kubiak, for finally realizing that he's a good player and he should pass to him. As a whole, I'm so happy to see going forward what we can see from Justin Jefferson. Great job getting offensive player of the month in the NFC for this November month. Thank you.